Chapter 305 The Best Test Subject. If that's the case, I won't trade your brother's life for any of us. I just want to know the truth. I'll let your brother go if you tell us why you're acting like the Black Vatican. At least, your secrets will still be buried here in the desolate city. Lu Nian was quite surprised. He was not surprised by the kid's sudden change of mind, but rather because the kid looked fairly composed, even though he was asking for his life to be spared before. Anyone else would have dropped to their knees and begged instead. Is he trying to drag the time out? Lu Nian murmured. With his profound experience, Lu Nian quickly determined that Mo Fan was trying to waste time. However, he could not figure out the meaning behind it. No one would come to such a desolate place to save them. Besides, with the strength they had displayed, they could not even handle his subordinates, let alone defeat him, an advanced magician. Lu Nian finally accepted Mo Fan's condition after a slight hesitation. It was definitely worth it to trade his brother's life by just talking. Lu Nian did not doubt that the students would drag his brother along with them if they were killed. He was too familiar with the final pride and urge to avenge themselves of weaklings prior to their deaths. There's an experiment. Lu Nian began to narrate in a calm tone. It might be the only way to stop humans from deceiving themselves. For the sake of mankind? How brilliant! What does that have anything to do with some students doing their training? Are you telling me that we have to be silenced because we've witnessed your shameless experiment? The problem is, we've seen nothing. Mo Fan said. Shameless? Lu Nian took a sip from his pipe and said with a smile, not at all. Every contribution to mankind in the past has always involved sacrifices. It's true that many have died in the experiment, and your lives are only a drop in the ocean. However, the difference it will make when it succeeds is a completely different story. We will no longer live under the domination of the demon beasts. In fact, we can even destroy their habitats. Then, by all means, go ahead with your ambitious plan. Why are you butchering us here instead? Mo Fan mocked him. What's the difference between your indiscriminate killing and the assholes from the Black Vatican? Stop trying to sound so noble. Peng Liang gathered up his courage and cursed them. Humph. What do students spending their time in ivory towers know about the outside world? Your teachers will only tell you the victorious battles we've fought. I bet no one has told you the number of lives lost in the battles against the demon beasts. How many cities were destroyed? Humans pretend to be the rulers of the world, with more heroes being born to save the people, ensuring that the civilians can live a peaceful life. Absolute nonsense. Those who have yet to experience a battle will never understand. Humans are only struggling to survive as they reproduce mindlessly. They think humans will become stronger with each generation. Little do they know, when the number of humans reaches a certain point, the demon beasts will then hold a feast. They will feast upon us, and yet be conservative. They won't eat us all, since we won't be able to reproduce if none of us are left. They wouldn't be able to hold a feast anymore. Wars? They are only the signs that the demon beasts are hungry, and there are enough humans to be their food, Lu Nian said. Lu Nian did not smile as he delivered his speech. His face was filled with anger. He had fought against demon beasts in real wars. He knew more of the truth than students who only lived in ivory towers. Mo Fan could feel his heart sinking. The words had completely toppled their values. It was almost like a brainwashing script given by the Black Vatican, if it were a little bit more extreme. If the calamity of Bo City was only a small depiction of what a real war looked like, Lu Nian was most likely speaking the truth. However, Mo Fan never thought humans were as petty as Lu Nian had described, especially how he mentioned that the demon beasts were only letting the humans survive to guarantee their food supply. In other words, humans surviving until now was not because of how well the magicians were protecting them. It was only a conspiracy set up by the demon beasts so they could continue to feast on them. Was it real? Mo Fan could not tell. Humans have the ability to live on, invent, and reproduce. It doesn't mean we are great. It only means that we are more suitable to be raised as livestock. They don't even need to worry about feeding us, Lu Nian laughed grimly. As a matter of fact, he enjoyed delivering the speech. When he first joined the army, he also thought the magicians were the guardians of mankind, stopping the invasion of the demon beasts. In the end, he realized how insignificant humans were when facing a pack, a horde, or even a kingdom of demon beasts. His view of the world was crushed in the battles. As such, he felt an indescribable pleasure when it was his turn to destroy the students' view of the world too. What you've said is tied to the whole of mankind. but what does it have anything to do with us? Mo Fan redirected their attention back to the topic. He was not interested in discussing the big picture. He only wanted to know why Lu Nian would not spare his life. He had never met him in his life. He had never heard of this experiment either. The experiment is about. Lu Nian paused for a moment. It would not be much of a secret soon. With this thought, he continued, a new element. What did you just say? Mu Nujiao and Zhao Manting exclaimed. Lu Nian's lips curled upward as he repeated, a new element. If it succeeds, we will be the inventor of a new element. When magic was first discovered, it gave us the power to challenge the demon beasts. The problem was, after tens of thousands of years, the elements we have awakened are nowhere enough. We did get a glimpse of hope when the latest element, the light element, was awakened. However, that's clearly not enough. We need stronger elements. Lu Nian's eyes flickered with excitement. If he were a calm, decisive killing devil before, he was more like a lunatic obsessed with his passion now. His insane, zealous behavior was something that Lu Zhenga had never seen before. His madness was thoroughly concealed by his calm exterior appearance. Are you telling us that you guys are planning to invent a new element? Zhao Manting blurted out in disbelief. That's right. Do you really think I'm actually out of my mind? Lu Nian smirked. But how? Zhao Manting had no idea what to say. You, Mo Fan, are the best test subject for the new element. Lu Nian pointed at Mo Fan as if he were looking at a perfect specimen with an extreme passion. Me? Mo Fan pointed at himself. Yes, you, because of your double innate elements. Chapter 306 The Life-Risking Arrow. The best test subject? Because of his double innate elements? Mo Fan's mind swarmed with more questions. According to what Lu Nian had mentioned, they had experimented on countless people, and the test subjects were basically dead. What they were doing was probably inhumane, otherwise, they would not be so secretive about it. Why would having double innate elements make him the best test subject? Why would the new element be related to his double innate elements? Mo Fan had been reluctant to expose his double innate elements, as he was worried that something like this would happen. However, a paper could never wrap fire. It was only a matter of time until his talent was exposed. He hadn't thought he would be targeted this quickly, as he had only shown his double innate elements quite recently, let alone be targeted by a bunch of demented battle mages. What does my double innate elements have anything to do with the new element? Mo Fan asked. Let him go first. Lu Nian was not stupid. You tell me, and I'll let him go. Mo Fan said. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old? You're dead regardless. Release him, and I'll give you all a quick death. If the new element is a success, we might even carve your names on a monument, Lu Nian said. Mo Fan knew that Lu Nian was running out of patience. He turned around and glanced at Mu Ningzhu. Mu Ningzhu nodded. The flames engulfing Mo Fan's body slowly died down. He loosened his grip on Lu Zheng's neck. Lu Nian continued speaking with a smirk. The test subjects only managed to survive for a brief period. On top of that, they would also lose their ability to think rationally, as their bodies could not handle the burden from the process. They would die instantly once the efficacy of the test drug ran out. It felt like all their life force was depleted within a short period of time. We have never had a single survivor since the start of the experiment. Lu Zhenga walked toward his brother while trembling in fear. He was scared, as he was still in range to be burned into ashes by Mo Fan's attack. His brother would not be able to save him in time. Such a sinister experiment. You're treating human lives as if they had no value. Mu Nujiao snapped. Whatever you think, the experiment was actually inspired from observing some mutated parasitic beasts. Lu Nian added. At this stage, he could not care less if the experiment was described as inhumane. Even if the Magic Association banned the method, they would not give up. They were so close to succeeding. Once it worked, the world would no longer be in the control of the magicians. Parasite beasts. You're using living humans as their hosts? Mo Fan's heart shuddered. He immediately recalled the Mother-Scale Skin Phantom. The Mother-Scale Skin Phantom had turned a human into a monster. Normally, these monsters would have strong combat capabilities. Ordinary magicians were no match for them. It fit the condition of losing rational thought. You don't need to know the details. Don't harbor a grudge against us. Many people died peaceful deaths, or should I say, meaningless. Many were killed by the demon beasts, very saddening. Meanwhile, you are dying for the birth of a new element, such an honorable sacrifice. Lu Nian paused in the middle of his sentence. Lu Nian was finally a safe distance from him, thus there was no point wasting any more time. His priority was to kill the others, and bring the one with double innate elements back so they could proceed with the experiment. The next time I see you, I'll trample you to the ground and spit on you. You're a fucking crossbreed between your close relatives. You can dream about your ambition in hell. Mo Fan burst out cursing. Lu Nian did not take it seriously. He burst into laughter and said, "If you manage to survive the experiment, kill them." Lu Nian waved his hand and gave the order. An overwhelming icy aura was unleashed behind Mo Fan's position. Her snowy white long hair drifted elegantly. Her glamorous face was filled with anger as her gorgeous figure floated in a suddenly frosted area. Ice crystal bow. Mu Ningzhu had instantly transformed into an icy goddess. A magical bow which could turn the entire place into a frosty kingdom appeared between her extended arms. The snow blew wildly, the frost spread rapidly, the ground froze at an insane pace, and even the clouds had turned icy. She lifted her icy gaze as she drew a deep breath. Mu Ningzhu never thought she would be using the ice crystal bow twice within 24 hours. She could feel the energy inside her body being drawn empty, to an extent that she could even feel her life force being completely drained away by the ice crystal bow. However, she had to take the risk. Mo Fan was trying to earn her some time. The moment he held Lu Zhenga as a hostage, Mu Ningzhu realized that the whole group would be wiped out if they failed to react in time. Mo Fan instantly understood her intention after seeing her gaze. Going against such a powerful troop of battle mages led by an advanced magician commander, their only hope was the ice crystal bow. If she were to put her life at risk, the arrow she summoned could erupt with a power similar to an advanced magic. Domain. A soul-graded ice seed. Impossible. This is impossible. Lu Nian opened his eyes wide and burst out screaming. A soul-graded ice seed and an ice crystal bow, which could unleash an attack similar to an advanced magic. The arrow alone posed a great threat to Lu Nian's group. As the domain spread toward the battle mages, they could sense their bodies being frostbitten. The casting speed of their intermediate spells became extremely slow. Even Lu Nian's advanced magic was affected. The arrow continued to take form. Its body began to appear. This time, the ice crystal arrow that Mu Ningzhu produced felt even stronger than the one before. The production phase alone had stirred a shocking icy storm around her. Standing at the eye of the storm, Mu Ningzhu drew the bow's string back fully. As she released the arrow between her fingertips, a sharp tone, like the scream of an icy storm, went off. Killing for no reason but a ridiculous ambition, disregarding human lives like the Black Vatican. His words had completely infuriated Mu Ningzhu. Even if firing the arrow cost her her life, she would drag these bloody murderers to death with her. They were not worthy to wear the sacred uniform of the battle mages. The arrow flew in a perfectly straight line in parallel to the ground. The ground, trees, stones, and even the air completely froze as it flew by. Lu Nian was quick to respond. He immediately dodged aside. The ice crystal arrow pierced through the air with a howl and struck the chest of a battle mage who was casting the lightning spell. The arrow did not penetrate its target, but exploded as its tip made contact with the target's chest. Endless ice flowers blossomed, an astounding sight, the entire place covered with frost and ice crystals. The light at dawn was supposed to wake the world up and signal the birds to sing out with pleasant melodies. However, as the explosion ceased, the whole place fell into a dead silence. There was no sign of life, as if time were frozen too. Chapter 307 Soul Grade Ice Seed. The ice clouds floating in the air suddenly peeled off and turned into a glacier crushing down on the woods. As the woods were already frozen, the weight of the glacier thoroughly shattered the trees to pieces. The broken ice scattered across the ground. On the frozen land, vivid and lifelike ice statues stood silently. Their faces were dominated by fear. Some were frozen up while aligning their star patterns. They never thought an intermediate ice magician would be able to summon an ice-type bow magical weapon with such outstanding power, nor did they expect a student of the Imperial College would be able to maneuver a soul-grade ice seed at her age. Her domain alone had overwhelmed their whole troop, including an advanced magician. The arrow was utterly astonishing. Even Mo Fan, who had recently witnessed its power, had not expected its true strength to be this terrifying. But why would Mu Ningzhu have such power that clearly did not belong to her, hiding inside her? Her silver long hair was disheveled. The imposing, imperial expression on her face was replaced with a debilitated look, as if her soul had been drawn away. The ice crystal bow broke into pieces after a soft crack, and fell off from her hand. Mu Ningzhu could no longer stand. She slowly fell backward. Mo Fan immediately caught her in his arms. Her body was extremely cold, like a corpse. Not a single hint of heat could be felt. Mo Fan quickly felt her pulse and let out a relieved sigh after confirming that she was alive. If she were to die here, he would never forgive that lunatic Lu Nian and his ridiculous ambitions. "Quick, run!" Mo Fan blurted out, glancing at the students. Mu Nujiao, Bai Tingting, Song Sha, Zhao Manting, and the rest were still experiencing a great shock after witnessing the power of the arrow. They finally collected their wits when Mo Fan yelled at them. It turned out that Mo Fan was buying some time for Mu Ningzhu so she could fire the arrow. They glanced at Mu Ningzhu, whose life was at risk, not knowing how to express their gratitude. "Wait, bring Mu Ningzhu with you. They are here for me. Zhao Manting, take good care of them, and..." Mo Fan glanced at Mu Ningzhu, who could fall into an eternal sleep anytime. He could only express his concern with a brief demand: no matter what happened, don't let her die. Zhao Manting nodded heavily and brought the students away with him. Mo Fan did not hesitate further. He glanced at Lu Nian, who had almost broken free from the ice, and the rest of the soldiers who were not completely frozen. Clenching his teeth, he turned around and ran toward the desolate Jinlin city, which was still plagued by monsters. It was impossible for Mu Ningzhu's arrow to wipe the whole troop out. It would only buy some time for them to run away. Knowing they were trying to hunt him down, Mo Fan was not left with many options. The enemies had heavenly eagles and an advanced magician. He would definitely be caught if he were to flee aimlessly. The only place that would increase his odds of surviving was the desolate ruins of Jinlin City. The city was overrun with countless demon beasts. They were strong enough to kill a magician instantly, not to mention their capabilities of making the magicians fighting against each other. He had to rely on them to get rid of his pursuit. Mo Fan is heading into the city. What difference would that make? We have to split up. They are trying to silence us. We'll be wiped out if we stayed together. Then, we'll be leaving first. Shen Mingxiao and Luo Song almost wet their pants. They had nothing to do with the mess at all. Now that they had the chance to escape, they could not care less about the others. If those evil battle mages caught up to them, they would be done for. They were still young. They did not want to die. Then, I'll be taking Song Sha with me. Peng Liang mumbled. Song Sha was utterly exhausted. There was no way she could escape on her own. It was quite a relief that Peng Liang was willing to look after her. Zhao Manting glanced at the half-dead Mu Ningzhu, the injured Bai Tingting, and finally Mo Fan, who was fleeing towards the ruins of Jinlin City. "You three, come with me." Zhao Manting made up his mind. He was slightly regretful that he had promised Mo Fan to look after the three girls. He was afraid to die, too. He wanted to run away like an unscrupulous coward, just like Luo Song and Shen Mingxiao. However, when he recalled how Mu Ningzhu had put her life at risk to save them, and how Mo Fan had left on his own so he would not drag the others into the mess, there was no way he could leave the girls and run for his own life. A while later, after the students fled, the ice crystals under the bright sunlight finally cracked open. Commander Lu Nian was the first to break free from the ice. He had managed to apply a layer of protection around himself. The frost might be powerful, but it was not enough to inflict any serious damage to an advanced magician. His face had turned blue after being exposed to the cold. His grim face was enough to imply how furious he was. They had been tricked by a bunch of students. However, as a commander, killing them was as easy as killing poultry with their legs tied up. Did they really think they could run away? They had drunk fresh demon beasts' blood and destroyed their nests before. And now, they couldn't handle a bunch of students who were only on their first training mission? "You guys, go after those who are trying to escape. I want them alive," Lu Nian said to the soldiers who managed to break free from the ice first. Affirmative. The soldiers were not weak, either. They quickly prepared themselves and rushed off in the direction Zhao Manting and the others had fled into. "The rest of you, come with me. How could we lose our most important test subject?" Lu Nian glared at the desolate city and gave the order to the rest of the soldiers who were regaining their feet. "Commander, I'm afraid they won't be able to wake up," the female advisor said. "Then destroy them." The remaining ice statues were knocked into pieces. The tiny shattered pieces were mixed with the blood and flesh of the soldiers they contained. When the ice melted, it would be impossible to tell whose corpses they were. 7 statues were destroyed in total, which meant that Mu Ningzhu's single arrow had instantly killed 7 talented intermediate magicians. Commander Lu Nian continued to wear an expressionless face, but it was definitely a humiliating defeat for them. The ice on the ground was crushed as they marched forward. The devils who had stripped off their sacred wind jackets never thought of giving up. Now, it was not a matter of silencing the students. Their priority now was to seize the kid with double innate elements. He was their hope to invent the new element. When the time came, he would be their ace to overcome everything, including the demon beasts who had been dominating the world for millennia. Chapter 308 Tyrant Earth Lizard. It had all happened too quick, not to mention how strange the whole situation was. Mo Fan tried to calm himself down as he was running. He began to review the whole incident. First of all, these people were not from the Black Vatican. They were only targeting him because of his double innate elements. They were carrying out an experiment that involved a new element. However, they could not allow the experiment to be exposed. In other words, the new element was most likely their own wishful thinking. He remembered that the birth of a new element required a very long exploration. Most importantly, he would have to seek the approval of magical society, particularly the Magic Association. The Magic Association had never announced any experiments about a new element. Therefore, it was highly possible that they were inventing some evil magic that involved sacrificing human lives, similar to the terrifying curses that the Black Vatican was passionate about that turned living humans into cursed beasts. Either way, any experiment that involved using human lives as sacrifices was considered evil magic. The one that stood out the most was the Black Vatican's evil magic, which could turn people into dark beast monsters. Lu Nian had also mentioned that the experiment was inspired by the parasite demon beasts. Therefore, it was highly possible that the new element involved turning humans into monsters. Indeed, if it were similar to the mother-scale skin phantom, who could infect others with its blood and turn them into scale skin phantoms, the overall strength of the human race would significantly increase, as long as they could still retain their rational thinking after mutating into the monsters. In conclusion, the new element must be related to some kind of mutation. To that extent, the mother-scale skin phantom was most likely some mutated monster that had escaped from some secret lab. Mo Fan did not want to become a test subject. Although he did consider himself an alien, as he had come from another world, it did not mean he was willing to sacrifice himself as a test subject just to make the world a better place. Besides, it was only a one-sided statement from Lu Nian. Heavens knew if they were actually inventing some evil magic like the Black Vatican. I wonder how Mu Ningzhu is doing. She should be alive still. Hopefully, Bai Tingting is able to save her life. Mo Fan began to worry. When he was bewitched, he had revealed to Mu Ningzhu some of the secrets in his heart. Just like words spoken when drunk, they might be the truth, or just him being sentimental. Either way, it was obvious that he was still constantly thinking of her. She had put her life at stake to save the group. Mo Fan would not easily forget her bravery. That evil Lu Nian was totally inhumane. He would have to kill the bastard with his own hands. And that son of a bitch Lu Zhenga, who had dared to leave signals to draw the lunatics to them. He wasn't sure if Mu Ningzhu's ice crystal bow had ended up freezing him to death. Otherwise, he would not mind digging the bastard's heart out. Unbelievable. Mo Fan escaped into the ravaged city. He could sense the devils chasing after him. Luckily, they did not dare to attract too much attention, due to the current residents of the city. It gave Mo Fan a better chance at escaping. Mo Fan was going straight to the places he assumed to be dangerous. He was on his own, thus his movement was much nimbler than Lu Nian's group. However, the hide and seek would eventually come to an end. He would have to rely on the demon beasts in the city to lower their numbers. It should be this way. I'm hoping the razor-tail drakes will be more kind to me, Mo Fan mumbled. While he was investigating the places on his own, he had accidentally trespassed into the territory of the razor-tail drakes. It was a half-dried, half-swampy area located right at the center of the city. Many of the buildings there had sunken into it. Many species had set up habitats in Jinlin City, but most of them considered the swampy areas forbidden, as they were the territories of the razor-tail drakes, who were the dominating species of Donjing Lake. The city used to be occupied by the razor-tail drakes horde. The information given by the school was not reliable enough. The razor-tailed drakes had not fully withdrawn themselves from the city. At least a pack of them had stayed behind. Mo Fan was running straight toward the razor-tailed drake's territory. It was the most dangerous place in Jinlin City, and the only hope of staying alive he had. A swamp overgrown with reeds was within visible distance. The place looked perfectly normal compared to the other areas. The only odd things were the roofs of seemingly half-meter-tall structures sticking out from the water. It was deadly quiet. Not a single cry of bugs could be heard from the piles of reeds. That being said, the bubbles rising to the surface of the swamp was a good indication that the place was not as dead as it seemed. The swift star wolf let out a deep breath. It was staring sharply at a lump of mud beside the swamp. "What are you looking at? Fuck me." Mo Fan bit his tongue when he suddenly saw the lump of mud moving all of a sudden. A giant mouth with fangs lunged in their direction. Its throat was so big that it could swallow a grown man whole. It was a disguise. The demon beast knew how to camouflage itself. Its skin had the same color as the mud and its texture blended well with the dried mud. Mo Fan would never know it was there as long as it lay stationary on the ground. Luckily, the swift star wolf was alert enough. It quickly leapt aside, dodging the bite. Otherwise, the strength of its jaws could tear a human in half instantly. The razor-tailed drakes were classified into different grades. Their servant class was generally referred to as a giant lizard beast. They were the size of a mature crocodile with a lizard's head. The frills on both sides could expand like umbrellas, and their tails were another third of their body's length. The warrior-level razor-tailed drakes had another name: tyrant lizards. The tyrant lizards had different elements, including fire, poison, ice, earth. This particular one that knew how to camouflage itself was obviously earth element. Its body had blended in perfectly with the background. It was impossible to notice it without really sharp eyes. Any living thing passing nearby would be eaten with a single bite, without understanding how they were killed by a lump of mud. The sinister fangs of the tyrant earth lizard let out a clank as its eyes sprang open. They were the size of human fists, and looked like they were almost popping out. Its crawling speed was surprisingly fast, too. It scuttled toward its prey, dragging its heavy body across the ground. The tyrant earth lizard was extremely cunning. It pretended to be lunging at them. When the swift star wolf reacted by jumping sideways, it whipped its body around and smashed its tail right in the direction the swift star wolf was moving to. The swift star wolf was knocked flying in the air. Its body flew over 10 meters away. Mo Fan was sent flying, too, slamming right into a pile of reeds. A few bones in the swift star wolf's chest had broken, as Mo Fan swore he had heard a loud crack from its chest. The swift star wolf let out a furious roar. It totally ignored its broken bones as it rolled up from the ground. Its eyes emitted a cold flicker of light. "We don't have time to fight. The devils are chasing us behind. We have to go deeper, and see if we can bait more of these tyrant lizards to kill some of them." Mo Fan shouted to the swift star wolf.